In this video, we're going to find out how to do a discount on a note. Now, this is a very simple discount on a very simple note. And as you learn more about the notes and the business itself and the ideas behind discounted notes and even flipping discounted notes, you can get more and more into the heavier notes and more complicated notes and how to discount those. But this video is just, we're going to keep it simple, and the basic idea of how to discount a note, and you can take a simple note and discount it once you go through this video. So we're going to start here at the calculator. Now there should be a link somewhere around here that you can find to access our online calculator. We make it really easy to discount a note using this calculator. If not, you can go to this my website here, and you'll get access to the discount note calculator. Now, what we're going to do first is start by putting in a new note. So when you open this page, we've got some default notes in there. You can look this over and play with it, or let's do a very simple one, $100,000 loan amount. So this was a loan that was taken out, and let's say it was a standard 360 month or 30-year loan, but we do it by months. And let's say we have a owner carried note at 7%. Could be typical, could be 6%, 10%. Oh, they're all over the place. But when you click down here, you're going to get the number, the amount for the monthly payment. So that number is $665.30. So that's the amount of monthly payment being paid right now by this person on this note. Now, to discount a note, you kind of have to figure out, well, how many months are left? And we have actually a computer down here to do that. So you can click the check mark, and that will open that little calculator out. So you'll put in the two dates, and it will automatically subtract it out and tell you how many payments are left, or I'm sorry, how many payments have been made. So now you can subtract that out and figure out how many payments are left, and you can substitute that back out in another calculator we're going to look at right now called present value, compute present value. We want to know how much right now is left owing on this note up here that we just did the calculation for. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take what we know about this note up here so far and put it into this one. We know two things. We know exactly what these numbers are because we did the basic calculation on the full note. The second thing we know is how many months are left on it because of that calculation down here, and the beginning month and year minus today's current month and year will tell you how many payments have been made, and then you subtract it from the 360. Now you know how many payments are left on the note. All right, so we're going to use those two pieces of information to construct and figure out what our discount is. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this back in. 665.3 is our monthly payment. We've got originally 360. We're going to change that in a second. And our interest rate on that note was 7%. Okay, so when we do a calculation, it comes out to almost a perfect amount, okay? It's not always going to be perfect because no calculator is, but it'll always be a few cents off. But that's $100,000 any way you look at it. All right, now, what we're going to do is we're going to now put in the new information that we know. All right, so let's say that this note has been paying for some time now, and we figured out through our calculations, and we'll do a couple of them to take a look, but let's say there's 300 months left on this note. All right, now that's what changes on here, and this tells us what today's value, in other words, the payoff today on this note would be $94,131. And by the way, this is the amount that you would be buying if you were buying this note for your own portfolio or for an investment. So this is what you're buying. You're buying somebody who's going to pay you. If they won the lottery tomorrow and paid off this note, this is the amount they would pay you. Now, otherwise, they're going to pay you a lot of interest on that 7% at $665 over the next 300 months. So this is the way you're looking at a note. So what we do is we discount this. In other words, we want a higher return than 7%. We want to make a better profit on this note than just 7%, because we could just do a loan ourselves and set it out and wait at that point. But if you're buying a note from somebody else, that means they don't want it. They want cash now, and they're no longer willing to wait for it. And you, as a note investor, you get to come in here and kind of dictate what it is that you're wanting to earn. So we take a profit as a note buyer going into a note. So in this case, we want to make a higher interest rate return on our invested money. We don't want a 7%. We want a, let's say a 11% return. If I put an 11% interest rate on this note now, not that we're changing the note, but this is effectively discounting this money right here down to a lower amount, below 94,000 somewhere, and that's what I'm going to actually pay for this note. So now my effective return, even though it's still at 7%, is at the 665. None of that changes, but it will change the amount of money I'm earning interest-wise, which we call a yield. All right, so let's go and see what this is. I'm going to click now, and we're going to see. Now, this is a $94,000 note right now, and I'm going to click. We're only paying $67,879 for this note. So that's what discounting this note does at an 11% yield to me. So now, as money comes in over the next 300 months at 665, this is giving me a yield of 11% because I've only paid $67,000 for an otherwise $94,000 note or whatever it was exactly. But that's how discounting works, and this is an example of all you need to do, these two calculators. And if you want to use this to kind of get down to to know, I mean, you can use this or you can just do it, on a piece of paper, but that is faster to figure out what your balance is. All right, so I said we'd do a couple of others. Let's say that this amount is only, let's go back to the 7%. So take a look at this note again. So we're at the 94,000. That's the note we're buying at 300. So we made a profit kind of going in a way, you could look at it that way, of that amount of money, but it really comes in on the yield, that because we're being paid monthly. So that's why you don't really look at it as a profit up front. All right, now let's change this around. Let's say there's only 120 months left now that we're buying. That's 10 years worth of this note left. Now, you could also be buying a partial. I'm just going to slide this in just so you understand. You could be buying a partial of this note of 120. In other words, the next 10 years. That's one way of looking at it. But typically what you're seeing a lot of times is you're just buying the last 10 years of this note. It's paid off all this time. And let's find out what the balance is at the 120. But keep in mind, it's the same thing as if you're buying the next 10 years. It's the same exact numbers. All right. So at this point, we've got 10 years left, and almost half of the note basically has been paid off. And the rest of that half was in interest, an incredible amount of interest coming in at the first part of those loans. All right, so we've got this left, $57,000, almost $60,000. Now we hit it with our 11% discount. And that changes it to $48,000. As you can see, that spread goes down. That's because almost all of this it doesn't have a lot left to be paid out, and it doesn't take too much of a discount to get us into an 11% yield on that note, but that's what you'd be paying. So again, this note was 7%, 57, now it's 48 at the 11. So that's the discount that is being done on the note. So in other words, one more time. We're buying this $57,000 note for, let me click on there, $48,297. And that's how you effectively get an interest rate, a return on your investment of 11% on this amount of money right here that you're investing. I hope that explains it. We've got some other stuff in here that actually starts to compute a balloon for you and everything. It gets a little bit heavier as we get in there. All of this is explained in my book, How to Flip Discounted Notes. This is really a great book. It's been around forever. I wrote it originally in 1993. We're on our 5th edition right now in 2018. And so everything is up to date. Dodd-Frank, everything is covered in this book that you need if you're going to get into buying and selling discounted notes, either for yourself or for other people, and do it as a business. Hope this video helps. And stay tuned because we'll have other videos going into different ways of discounting notes, etc.